Here we are, a couple more joining. Okay, guys, come and take a seat down in the audience. We are just about to start. So, thank you all for joining. We've still got more joining. Thanks ever so much, everybody, for joining. What we're going to try and do today is cover as much as possible in 1 hour. We've also got another session tomorrow to cover the same thing. So if you miss anything today and you want to join again tomorrow, by all means do. I've just changed it to open talk, so everybody can now talk if they wish. So if you can all turn your microphones off for the time being, and then we'll have any questions and answers at the end. Yeah, I heard a couple of you talk there, so remember just to turn those microphones off until we get to the Q&A at the end. So hopefully you may well have all seen the run of show, which I emailed only a couple of hours ago, so maybe you've not had a chance to look at that yet. What we're going to cover first for this training session is for any of you that are going to be managing content during the session. So we're going to run it very much like we've been doing all the rehearsals with the speakers. Just to let you all know, we have completed rehearsals with every speaker. So they have been explained to exactly what they need to do in sessions. So nobody's going to arrive at any of your sessions not knowing what they should do. So that will help you a lot as well, because they've already been explained what they need to do. Okay, so just to repeat, what I'm going to cover first is anybody that is basically taking care of content. So where you're going to be in session rooms managing what everybody sees on the screen and supporting speakers. Okay. So if you haven't already seen it, you will do at some point today. We have sent you a spreadsheet which is called the Run of Show. It's an Excel document and it's called the Run of Show. In that document, it lists absolutely every session that's taking place. It gives you everything you need to know about every session. So you can sort that document if you like. So if you want to sort the document by stream room, for instance, if you're in a particular stream and you want to see what's going on in that particular stream room, you can do that, or you can search by the session number. So what I suggest that you do, if you are one of the student task force members that are managing the content in rooms, is that you have a good look at this spreadsheet either today or tomorrow, and we can either cover some questions off today, or if you have a look at it overnight, we can also answer the questions again tomorrow. But in that document, it basically tells you everything you'll need to know about the session. It tells you what type of session it is. It tells you who the speakers are for that session, so how many speakers. It tells you whether there is videos or not. And it tells you whether you or the speaker will be managing the lectern. So basically we'll be playing the videos. It will tell you who actually is playing the videos. So if you want to ask any questions via chat, I see one coming in, just keep sending them in there and I'll get to those at the end, okay? So what it says is managing content counts as either facilitation or recording or only no, so managing content is facilitation, correct? So recording is something separate and we'll do that separate. So what we're talking about now is managing content, so you're facilitating the session. However, if you're also recording the sessions, it will also help for you to listen now because you'll be working from the same run of show. So the run of show will also help you to know what part of the session you are going to be recording, okay? So we'll cover that as well. Okay. Tomorrow's training is going to be the same as today. So if you want to check back again tomorrow, you can do, okay? So keep asking questions and I'll get to those at the end. So please have a look at the run of show document. It tells you exactly what you need to know for every part of your session. I'm going to go into the actual rehearsals now that we do for a speaker so you understand exactly what it is that happens during sessions. So we've got different types of sessions, as you know, and they're almost grouped into two different groups. So you've got best practice, then you've got the exhibitor sessions, and then you've also got forums. Those three are very similar. So best practice, forums and exhibitor sessions, they're going to be taking place in stream 1, stream 2, stream 6 and stream 7. Okay, So 1, 2, 6 and 7, and you'll be able to see that in the actual run of show document. So it'll tell you what session your session room is going to be in. So best practice forums and exhibitor sessions, they're taking place in the larger auditorium style rooms, except for the forums, which is in number 6, which looks like this room but is going to be managed differently. So with regards to those 3 different types, which is best practice forums and exhibitor sessions, you will be on the lectern, so the student task force members will be on the lectern basically to play the content, okay? And we're going to invite you up later so you can actually have a go of connecting to the lectern here, because as you'll see on the screen behind me, just here, we've actually got a best practice already set up so that you can have a play to see how that works. We've also got a masterclass session set up, but we'll talk about masterclass sessions later because that's slightly different. So at the moment we've got best practice. So just to repeat, the best practice, the forums and the exhibitor sessions are mainly all going to be managed by you at the lectern, okay, and not the speakers. There are 2 actually that are the only 2 where the speakers are going to manage that, and that's best practice 3 and forum 5. However, this detail is also in the run of show. So if you look at the run of show document, in column K, you can see it says presentation control, and it either says managed by speaker or it says managed by STF, Student Task Force. So it will tell you, but generally the rule of thumb is that best practice forums and exhibitor sessions will be with you at the lectern, okay? Apart from those 2 that I've mentioned, but again, that's mentioned in the run of show. Now, in terms of your role as a facilitator, you will obviously be asked to get to the session in advance of the session starting, okay, and those instructions have already been given to you in terms of timings so that you know to get there early. Now, keep in mind, we're talking about best practice forums and exhibitor sessions now. So any delegates that are attending those sessions and also yourselves can freely attend those sessions. What that means is you can basically just go through the portal to get into that particular stream room, okay? So it's a little bit different with masterclasses, which we'll get to later, but for the best practice, the forums and the exhibitor sessions, they will just be able to get into the session using the portals, just like you were able to enter here today, okay, through the scene list or through the portals in the lobby. Now, you should be, as a facilitator, on the stage waiting for your speakers to arrive. Again, it mentions in the document, in the run of show, it mentions in there who your speakers are. So you are able to actually invite that speaker to your location. So if they don't arrive on time, you can actually invite them. Now I'm going to explain how you do that. Hopefully you already have noticed this and you've seen the functionality available. So at the top of your screen, in the right hand corner, you can see a little magnifying glass. And if you click on that magnifying glass, it gives you all of the people that are in the system at any one point, okay? So you can either look down the list or you can actually search for a person's name in the name field, okay? And that will allow you to search for the speaker. You can then click on them and invite them into your location. Now, for best practice forums and exhibitor sessions, for all of the majority of the ones where you will be at the lectern, it's not really important that you have the speaker there from the start, because really the only reason the speaker is there is to get involved with the Q&A at the end of the session. So if you get to the time when the session should be starting and you still don't have a speaker on the stage, please don't worry, just continue with the presentation and start the videos running, okay? So for best practice forums and exhibitor sessions, they are all videos. So again, we're going to show you how to do this. So they're all videos. So basically, when you press the play button on the lectern, whether there is 1 video or 4 videos, they will all play one after the other. So you only have to press the play button once, okay? And you can have a go at that in a moment on the lectern. So just to repeat, if you don't have a speaker on the stage at the start of best practice forum or exhibitor session, if you have reached the time of the start of the session, you should still press the play button and start the presentations. Hopefully then the speaker will be with you by the time the Q&A starts. because that's when the speaker needs to be on stage to answer any questions. Now, when you first get into the session, for those sessions, it's a good idea if you make an announcement at first, just to let the delegates know that they should turn off their microphone, so they switch off their talk buttons. When you're on the stage, you don't actually hear any of the delegates in the audience. However, the delegates in the audience can hear each other. So if you're sat next to somebody who has by accident kept their talk button pressed, it's going to get quite distracting and a little bit annoying. So at the beginning of the session, before you press the video play, it's a good idea that one of the facilitators, one of you student task force facilitators, just makes an announcement on the stage and just explains to everybody, can everybody in the audience please remember to switch off your talk button? Okay. Now, when you're actually on stage and you can see the audience in front of you, you may see that some delegates' names are turning white above their heads. Now that tells you that their talk button is still on. So if you do have two facilitators in the room, so two student task force members, and one of you is at the lectern, and you've got a free member of the team to help, a good idea is to walk around the audience, or to basically just look around the audience, and if somebody's name is constantly turning white in the audience, that means that they've forgotten to turn their talk button on. So you can press on them. So you can press on them with your mouse. If you do that to somebody that's sat next to you now, or somebody that's across, you'll see that you can then mute that person. And all that means is it just turns their talk button off for them. Okay, so that's a top tip. If you've got somebody constantly talking in your session, you can press off on them and mute them to turn off their microphone. And it just means that when they talk again, they would need to press their talk button to be able to be heard again. Okay, so as mentioned, for the best practice forums and exhibitor sessions, they are generally just recorded MP4 videos that you're able to play yourself. So you play from the lectern. Now I'm going to show you what that looks like. Now, at the beginning of every session, regardless of what type of session it is, you will basically see a holding slide. Now this is the holding slide that you can see now. Okay, what the holding slide is it just basically confirms what session is about to take place. So it will confirm that after this holding slide, it will be all of the presentations received for this particular session number. So here we have best practice 12.1. Okay, so in a minute you're all going to get a chance to do this, but basically if I press the play button now, it's going to start to play the first video, because this is a best practice and all best practices are just videos. Now please remember that when you're playing the video, you also need to remember to unpress your talk button to mute yourself, because if you play the video and also talk, or your talk buttons at the same time, you will get quite a lot of feedback in the audience. So I'm going to unpress.
Hello. Welcome to the AMY Best Practices session on involving patients and families in achieving meaningful outcomes through continuing professional development. My name is David Wilger.
Now I've paused that. What will happen with the best practice videos, because you may have, you'll always have more than one, but once the first one finishes, it will automatically play the next video. So it will keep going until it gets to the Q&A slide. So you don't have to do anything other than press play at this stage. Now, another key tip is, what we've noticed is sometimes when you press the play button, if it doesn't start immediately, don't press it again until you wait for a few minutes, because it might just be that there's a slight lag. So if by accident you press it twice, it might go to the second video in the loop, okay? And if that happens, all you need to do is press the back arrow and start again from the video. And I'll show you that in a moment in terms of what the different colours and what you can do on the actual, on the lectern. So you can basically press play, you can pause, but you don't need to do anything in the best practice other than press the yellow play button, and then it will play all of the presentations. So I'm going to show you, once it plays all of the presentations.
Hi there.
So that's the next presentation that would play in its entirety.
My name is Laura Williams, and I was honored when And I'm a scientist at the Wilson Centre at the University of Toronto in Canada, and I have no conflicts of interest.
So that's the next presentation. And again, these would just all play automatically once you press play for the first time.
Hi, I'm Dr. Alvaro Margolis. I'm going to talk about patient involvement in online CME perspectives.
Let's move to the topic of patient involvement in CPD research.
Hello everyone, my name is Lisa Sullivan. I'm the owner and managing director of an education provider called In Vivo Academy.
Good morning or good evening to everyone, wherever you are. My name is Samara Bulsaw.
So once it goes through all of the different presentations, it will finish on this Q&A. But I can't stress enough that you only need to press the play button once, okay? And if there may be a slight delay before the video starts, but please don't press it twice and don't press it any more times than once, otherwise it will go very, very fast. It'll go through all of the different presentations, so you only press it once, okay? And then once it's played all of the presentations, it will then get to this particular Q&A slide, okay? That is when the speakers will answer any questions that have been received. Now, delegates will be able to ask questions through the Slido Q&A link. Now, you can't see them in this room, but normally, I'm going to show you where they normally are. Now,
hello everyone, my name is Lisa Sullivan.
I'm the
owner and managing director of...
Okay, what I've just noticed is somebody in the audience has clicked on full screen and been able to play the presentation from where you are. Now, this is a very important point that I mentioned to Sebastian yesterday. Because you have been given the great privilege of having the speaker functionality, that means that not only can you control the presentations from the lectern, you can control them from the full screen as well. So it's really, really, really important that if you are watching any sessions in the audience and you watch it on full screen, that you do not play with the arrows, because you're going to forward it or you're going to change it for the whole of the audience, not just for you. Okay, so really important point, guys. When you look at it in full screen, please do not play with the arrows or any of the points at the bottom, because that's basically, you're controlling it the same as you would do at the lectern. So it's really important that you don't do that. In fact, I would ask you that you don't actually look at it in full screen, because then you've got no way of making any mistakes. So just to reiterate, when you look at a presentation in full screen, when you click on the screen to see it in full screen, you will have the same speaker rights as you do at the lectern. So those little arrows at the bottom will allow you to forward and rewind, but it's not just for you, it's for the whole audience. So it's really important that you don't do that, okay? So just to go back to the Q&A, the actual delegates normally in a session room, I'm going to walk over, normally underneath these small screens here, where I'm just jumping now, you can see me jumping, there's normally some Q&A panels hanging off those two screens. That's where the delegates would click, and that links to Slido. They then find their Slido code, they then find their session code, so whatever session they're in, and then they're able to submit a text question and leave their name. Now, all of the speakers have been sent an email with their direct Slido link, and they're able to connect to that Slido link to be able to see what questions have been asked during the session. So then during the actual Q&A, the speakers will then read out the questions, and they will manage that part, so you don't have to worry about that. However, just to let you know that the Slido Q&A link will also be included within the run of show. So if for whatever reason you need that link, you can get it from the run of show. But also, even when you're on the stage, you can still click on the Q&A panels on either side of the screen, and it will take you to the same place anyway. So it'll still give you the list of all of the answers. Okay, so that's it for best practice forums and exhibitor sessions. You don't have to do anything with the speaker rights for these particular sessions, because they don't need any speaker rights to be able to share their webcam. So where you look at the crib sheet where it tells you to click on a speaker to actually give them their speaker rights, you only need to do that in the masterclass. You don't need to do that in this session. For the 2 sessions that I talked about, which was BP3 and FO5, which are the only ones out of the best practice in the forums who will be managing their own lectern, they will already be given speaker rights, so you don't need to worry about them. Okay, so just to repeat, if you are facilitating a best practice, a forum or an exhibitor session, you don't have to worry about giving the speaker their speaker rights, because they don't need it to be able to share their webcam. We'll give them their own rights for the webcam share. Okay, so that's that for best practice and forums. And after I've finished, you can all come up and have a go on the lectern to see how that works. With regards to masterclass sessions, now these are quite different masterclass sessions. They're a lot more interactive, and the speakers will always, apart from one, there's always one, will always manage their own presentation from the lectern. Okay, so with the masterclass sessions, as I'm sure you may well know, because you've probably seen it on the registration site, all of the delegates had to register to attend a masterclass session. So unlike best practice forum and the invited address and the exhibitor sessions where you can just freely go, the masterclass sessions will only be attended by those who have pre-registered, and all of those guys and girls have been sent a code to be able to access those sessions. So the actual speakers for each of those masterclass sessions and the delegates have been given the same code for each session. So every masterclass session has its own unique code, and I'm going to explain where they enter that code. So at the top of your screen on the left hand side, you can probably see the program button, and next to the program button you can see code, and that's where they enter their code. Now they'll be able to enter their code and access their masterclass session 5 minutes before the session starts. Okay, so it's basically up to them wherever they are. So whether they're in the scene list, whether they're in another scene, whether they're in the lobby, it doesn't matter where, they will always see that code list. And as long as they enter their code either 5 minutes before their session starts or during their session, it will give them access. Now for you guys, you have got an easier way to get into the masterclass session. So masterclass sessions, as you know, are taking place in stream 3, stream 4 and stream 5. So they're the room names, stream 3, 4 and 5 for the masterclasses. You don't need to worry about codes, because at the back of your room, in the back of this student room where you first enter on the balcony, when you turn around, you'll see that there's 3 portals, and those portals will get you into those stream rooms. So you can quickly jump in and out of the masterclass sessions without having to worry about codes. However, if you need the code for whatever reason, if the delegates ask you for the code, what you need to do is check your run of play. We're actually going to have the masterclass participant list will be sent to you as well, so that you basically can check if that person's name is on the session list, and then it will also give you the code, so that basically you can give that delegate the code so that they can enter the correct masterclass. But remember to check that their name is in the participant list first, just in case they're obviously trying to get in there without having pre-signed up. Okay, so just to repeat, the masterclass code is available on the run of show, but we will also be sending your team leaders the masterclass participant list, so you can see exactly which delegate is attending which masterclass, and it will also give you the codes in there as well. Okay, but for you guys to quickly go in and out of the masterclass sessions, you can come to this room, and at the back of your room on the balcony you have 3 portals that will get you into stream 3, 4 and 5. Now that's how you get into the masterclass sessions. In terms of facilitating, for you guys that are facilitating on the stage for masterclass sessions, as I mentioned, all of them apart from one, and I'll tell you what that one is shortly, all of them will be coming to the session to manage their own session. So you're really only there to support the speaker. Now, one thing that you might be asked is they might want to change the room to talk to all. So generally, just to explain how the audio normally works in all of the session rooms, is normally the audience obviously can hear the speaker. So as long as the speaker's on the stage, the audience can hear the speaker when they press the talk to all button. But normally the speaker cannot hear the delegates, and obviously that's to help with any distractions, so that basically I can't on the stage hear any of you. It normally means as well that delegates can talk to the delegates that are sat around by them, but maybe if you're sat at the front of the room and there's another delegate at the bottom of the room, you wouldn't hear their conversation. However, we do know that there's a couple of speakers that have requested that you guys, when you're actually in the room with them, you change the room to talk to all. That's what I've done today, is I've changed it to talk to all, so that basically we could all talk together, and that's called open talk. Now, at the moment, it's actually on open talk, and I'm going to explain where you do that, where you change it to open talk. So if a speaker does say, can we have it so that the whole audience and so that we can all talk as one group? So if you go to the top of your screen and you go to the left-hand side, so top and left, in the corner you'll see an exit or a back button, and then underneath there you'll see a little arrow that you can press, and that arrow presses in and out. So you can press the arrow out, and then you can press voice. So if you all press voice now, you'll see that I've already got it on open talk. So if I was to do closed talk now, so I've pressed it, so it's now closed talk. There you go, somebody has just pressed it to open talk. So somebody is doing it at the moment in the audience. So that is basically, there you go, someone's clicked it off. I'm going to click it back on open talk. So that is where you make it open talk. So if you want the audience to be able to interact fully with the speakers and the speakers to interact fully with the audience, if the speaker asks you to do that, that's where you do it, okay? There's also a forum, which is the forum being organised with WHO, which also want it on open talk. So he will probably ask you if you're moderating or facilitating that particular session to do the open talk. So that's where you do that, okay? But generally, with all of these sessions, it will just be the audience listening to the speaker, and the speaker won't hear the delegates talk. Now, what you'll also notice when you're on stage, your little talk button changes. So normally, whenever you're off stage, your talk button just says talk, and that means only the people that are sat around you can hear you talk. But when I'm on the stage, my button changes to talk to all, and yours will do the same. So as long as you're on the stage and your button says talk to all, when you press that button, everybody can hear you. So just as I mentioned for the best practice forums and exhibitor sessions, before the session starts, it's a good idea if you just remind everybody in the audience, please turn your talk button off so that you're not distracting the people that are sat next to you, okay? So, like I say, for the masterclasses, the speakers will come to the stage and they will take over the lectern, so they will manage the session. What you do need to do is give them speaker permission. Now, in the crib sheet that we shared with Sebastian and the other team leaders, it actually explains in there how you do that, and it's basically you just click on the avatar itself, and then once you click on the avatar, you are then able to see that it gives you permissions. So you click on permissions, and then you click on use presentations and VIP. So you have to make sure that those two buttons are ticked, and then it means that the speakers can actually connect to the lectern with no problems. Okay. There's generally more than one speaker involved in the masterclasses, as there are for most sessions, to be honest. I think it's only the forums where you might only get one speaker, but generally there's more than one speaker. And the session will start with them at the lectern, and they've generally got slides as well as videos, but they have been given full rehearsal and full training. So you don't have to worry about them in terms of them not knowing what to do, because they've already been given full training. They know how to use the lectern, and they will manage the session completely. Now, they may ask you to help when it comes to some of them that are doing breakout sessions. So what I suggest that you all do is you go and visit either stream 3, stream 4 or stream 5 after this particular training session, and you will find the breakout room is on, you can access it on either side of the stage. There's two portals on either side of the stage where the groups can go to the breakouts. Now, just to let you know, any of the masterclass speakers who have decided to have breakout sessions involved, they are already allocating each of the delegates to their group numbers. So you'll notice when you get to the breakout room, there's actually just one breakout room. Everybody goes into that same breakout room, but then they're able to basically go to whichever group number they've been given. So 1 to 6, so there's only up to 6 groups that they can break them into, and then they get into their own group and they can have a private conversation with their own group. The speakers have also been told that if they want anybody to view anything during those breakouts, that they do that, that they actually send that in advance so that the delegates can look at it in advance, because when you get to the breakout space, you can't really share anything on the screens in there. So the only reason for breakouts is just to allow the smaller groups to talk together as a group to discuss things. Now, the way that you would get everybody back to the room, so the speaker might say to you, please can you help me get everybody back into the mainstream room. So there's a couple of ways. You can obviously just go into the groups and talk to them. So you press your talk button and just say, guys, can you come back? Now keep in mind that each group, so if I'm in group 1, I can't hear anybody talking in group 2. So you will need to go in and out of each of the groups, or you can press that open talk that I told you about, which is that little arrow at the top, and you can press open talk, and that means that everybody in the scene will hear everybody talk, so they'll all hear you. So you could make an announcement to say, right guys, can everybody make their way back to the main scene list, and everybody would then go back. Okay, so that might be one of the things that the speakers asked to help with, and that's how you would do it. Basically, you just go to the breakout and get people back in. But in general, it's actually the speaker that will manage that whole session for masterclass. Now, just to repeat, for all of your sessions, whether it's best practice, forum, exhibitor session, or masterclass, it will all start with a holding slide. So when you enter the room, it should give you the right holding slide, and it should say the correct session number that you're in. If it doesn't say the correct session number, it means that the content that's about to play is incorrect. Now, that won't happen because our team are there to check it, but if it ever does, then you know that it's incorrect. You should only see on the screen the code number, the session number that you are there to facilitate, okay? And once all the presentations have played, it will then end up on a Q&A slide. So I'm going to quickly show you again. I'm going to quickly go forward.
Welcome to the AMY Best Practices session on.
I'm going to quickly go through all of these videos till we get to the Q&A again.
Let's move to the topic of
Right, so I can't stress enough that please only click once on the lectern, because it will start. As long as you click the yellow start button, it will start, but there might be a slight delay. So please don't think, oh, it's not worked, and press twice, because it will shoot forward. It will forward past 2. Once all of the videos have played in your best practice forum or exhibitor session, it will finish on the Q&A slide, like I mentioned. That's the same for the masterclass. So here we go. This is the masterclass now. So after I finish this training session, please, by all means, all of you come up onto the stage for the ones that are facilitating sessions and just have a go to see what you can do. So because it's generally slides, I'm now just pressing the forward, the yellow button that is clicking through the different slides. So you don't really need to worry about this, because the actual speakers for the masterclass sessions will manage their own slides. So they'll be on the lectern and they'll be clicking through just like this, and you'll be at the side of the stage, so you can just stand at the side of the stage to help them, support them if they need any support. So I'm very quickly clicking through all of these sessions. Now, if a session has a video, then it will, once they get to that video, it will automatically play. I'm not sure whether this one does. Let's see. So they've got breakout rooms. So this one will then, when it gets to breakout rooms, they'll break the groups into the breakout rooms. So it might be at this stage that it'd be handy if you guys can then help the delegates move into those breakout spaces by explaining they click on the portals to get in there. So we're still going. Let's see if we've got any videos. Don't think we have. Keep going. No, so there's no videos in that, but had there been a video, all that would happen was when you click forward to the next slide, instead of the slide being there, it would be the video. The video would play in its entirety, complete, and then it would just automatically go on to the next slide and the speaker just keeps clicking. And then this is when you know that the presentation has finished, because they're at the Q&A and they are ready then to take any questions. But as mentioned, the delegates would have been submitting questions through the Slido Q&A panels, and the speakers have got their link to access those questions, okay? So I think I'm just going to quickly scroll down to see if I have missed anything from the crib sheet. What I would ask you all to do is to really look at those crib sheets that we've sent to your student team leaders, just because in there it actually shows you images of the lectern. It tells you about the yellow button being the play button. It tells you about the blue button to pause the videos. It tells you about the Q&A, so it gives you absolutely everything you need to know. It tells you about how the speakers can connect their webcam. Now again, the speakers have been fully trained, so they all know how to share their webcam. So what I'm going to do is do it now. I'm clicking on one of the side screens to the left or the right. I'm going to click on my webcam. Now, the key point here is once you've selected which webcam you want to use, it asks you whether you want microphone enabled or microphone disabled. It's always disabled. You always have to press disabled, because if I press enabled, I'm going to get an echo. So if you notice that a speaker has connected their microphone and there's an echo, just ask them to disconnect their webcam and reconnect, but make sure that they press disabled. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm going to give you all a wave in a minute when it connects. It takes a few minutes, but you can see the screen's there to your right. It's just got to scroll. There you go. Hello, everybody. So there you go. And I can now stop sharing that, basically. There we are. Okay, so that's how anybody can, and you guys could connect your webcam if you wanted to during your sessions, but that's how the speakers do it. Now, it's only speakers with PCs, unfortunately, that can connect their webcam. Macs do not do that. So that's the webcam. Again, like I mentioned, if a speaker's not arrived in the session, it's not really important at the beginning for a best practice, a forum or an exhibitor session, because you'll start all the content running anyway. It's only for the masterclass that you absolutely need the speakers in the room, because they're obviously managing their sessions. So again, you can use that functionality that I told you about, which is the little magnifying glass, which is at the top on the right hand side. And if you press on that, you can find the speaker and you can invite them to the session room. Okay. Now, at all times, you are going to have a WhatsApp group set up that you're going to be connected to your team leaders. Your team leaders will then have a separate WhatsApp group directly to me and my team. So if at any point something goes wrong, or you're struggling, or you need help, or a speaker hasn't arrived, then please just very quickly send a WhatsApp to your group leader. But what we need in there, we need very clear information. So we need your session number, and we need your stream number, and then also straight after what the problem is. So if you just need tech help, just say tech help and we'll come to your room to help you, okay? So that's really important. If for whatever reason you get to the Q&A section of the best practice, the forum or the exhibitor, and you haven't got a speaker, let us know. Hopefully it will be a case that we can get the speaker in there for you, but I'm sure there may be some occasions when actually, for whatever reason, the speaker has just not been able to connect, and then we'll deal with that at the actual time. But if there is any technical difficulty, or you need any help, please just ask for our help and we'll come to the room for you, okay? I'm just quickly scrolling down to make sure that I've not missed anything on the crib sheet. No, don't think so. Talked about open talk. So the other thing is just to be aware that for timekeeping, so for the masterclass session, well, for all of the sessions really, when they get to the Q&A part of the session, please can you just check the time. Now, the speakers have been asked that they should not go over their session time, but just like a normal AMY conference, if you can also make sure that they are keeping to time so that they don't go over the session time. So when there's maybe 5 minutes left, you just let them know, and you can make an announcement. You could do that open talk and just say, just to let everybody know there's 5 minutes left for this session. Just another point, just to reiterate about lectern management. Please remember when you're on the lectern and you are playing a video to mute yourself, to untick the talk button, because otherwise there's going to be quite a lot of interference when the video plays. So it's very important that you do not have your talk button pressed when you're playing the video. And again, just a very, very important point. When you look at the screen from in the audience or from anywhere else and you do full screen, you can still manage the content in the same way from the lectern. So please don't press the forward or back arrows or any arrows on full screen, because you will change the content for the whole of the audience. Okay, so that is it in terms of facilitation. We may well run out of time, so let me quickly move on. I'm just going to see if there's any questions here that I can answer. Are all videos edited so the exact time to finish with the cues? Yeah, so we absolutely know that no videos will go over time. So we've given enough time to be able to give a sufficient time for the Q&A. So if they're in Q&A and there's only 5 minutes left, you need to say, right, we've got 5 minutes left of the session, and absolutely tell them if they are on the time that they should finish. But yeah, we've made sure that the videos will not go over any of the session times, okay? Delegates can access full screen, but they won't have the controls like us, so only we need to, exactly, absolutely. Delegates can do full screen, but when they do full screen, they're only doing it to actually look at it in full screen, so they won't be able to do those back arrows, forward arrows, etc., etc. So just please be careful when you're looking at that, like we say in that chat. So that's for facilitation. For recording, again, can I just ask you to look at the crib sheets that we've sent across, because it gives you the 2 different ways that you can record. Now, the first option for recording is the better way. It's the most secure way in terms of if your Virtway app closes down, you won't lose the file. So that's the first recording option, which is press the Windows key and G to open up the screen record. So again, I won't go through the absolute detail because it's already in your crib sheet, but please can I ask for the student task force members that are recording that you practice this beforehand. So over the next couple of days, if you can just practice recording and then saving your files where it needs to be saved. Within that document, within the crib sheet, it also tells you that what the file format should be saved, so what the file name should be saved, and it's basically the session number and then what it is that you've recorded. Now again, in your run of show, it will tell you whether you should be recording just the Q&A, just the questions and answer, or whether you should be recording the whole session. But generally, just to let you know, all of the best practice, all of the forums and all of the exhibitor sessions, you will just be recording the Q&A, because of course we've already got the pre-recorded presentation, so there's no need to record the whole session. So you would just record the Q&A of those sessions. So for instance, the file format that you would save that would be the session number. So let's say BP1, best practice 1, and then it would just be hyphen and then Q&A recording. But again, this is all in the crib sheet. For the masterclass sessions, you are generally going to be recording the whole session. So you'll start the recording from the beginning right to the end, okay? But again, if in doubt, for every session that you're about to start to either facilitate or to record, please look at the run of show, and it will tell you what part of that session that you should be recording. Within the crib sheet at the bottom, it also gives you our WeTransfer account, where you're able then to click on that WeTransfer account and upload your file. What we ask you to do, there's obviously going to be 2 of you in every session recording each of the sessions, so whether it's a Q&A or the full session. The reason for that is to try and mitigate against risk, to try and defend against risk. So if one of you drops out, we're hopefully going to have the second person still recording. It might be that both of you have beautiful recordings and they're both perfect. And in which case, if you're both happy that the recording worked well, please just send 1 file. We don't need 2 files. But if you're just a bit unsure and you think, well, we're not sure which one's best, please by all means send both files. We would rather have 2 files than none at all, or really poor quality. Okay, so please send those files through that link, and then we will pick the files up from that link. Okay, just thinking whether I've covered everything. Oh, from a recording point of view as well, basically what you see now, so what you're looking at, your view is what records. So you record the whole thing. So if you're recording a Q&A, it's really important that you just basically aim yourself at the stage, because really what's important at that point is that we pick up the speakers talking and obviously the questions that they're reading out and the answers that they're reading out, and maybe if they share their webcam that you're picking that up. But in terms of the content on the screen, it's not really important because it'll just be the Q&A holding slides. It's really the audio that's important. So if you just point yourself generally at the screen. For the masterclass sessions, obviously you're going to be recording the whole session and there will be quite a lot of content. So the main thing for that is, rather than follow the avatar speaker around, is that you just record what is on the screen. So we're getting the content, and obviously we'll also be picking up the audio of the speaker as well. Another important point, you do not need to record the breakout sessions in masterclasses. So you only record what's going on in the main room. So for instance, if you are recording the whole session and they go to breakout, you can stop that recording and then start it again when they come back into the room. So it might be that we have 2 files for the masterclass, and that's absolutely fine, but you don't record the breakout session. It's just what goes on in the mainstream room. Okay, I'm just going to check now what's coming in on our chat. So can you record on the phone? No, you can't record on your phone. As far as I'm aware anyway, you can't record on your phone unless you find a way of doing it, but we don't know of how you can do that. Somebody else says, I don't have a record button on my Mac. Does this mean I cannot record? Yeah, you can still record. It tells you the 2 different options of how you do that in the crib sheet. So please look at the crib sheet and practice. Will delegates be allowed to ask questions via their microphone rather than Slido? And if not, should we stop them doing that? So no, we're not taking questions via microphone. And actually keep in mind that what I said before, that actually the speakers on the stage will not hear the delegates in the audience anyway, so they won't ask them. So if you're able to, when you make that announcement at the beginning to tell everybody to turn their talk buttons off, you can always remind them and say you can submit questions by clicking on the Q&A panels at the side of the screen, because what we're trying to make sure they don't do is ask questions via this chat, the way that we're doing it now, basically, because that can be lost. If the speaker drops out of session and joins back, they will lose that chat. So every time you leave a scene, you lose that chat. So we do need them to click on the Q&A panel. So you can also mention that to them before the session starts. Let's see another question. Is it possible to mute the chat so speakers don't hear the beeps during the... Unfortunately not. I know it's a little bit annoying, but no, we can't mute that chat coming in. You just have to switch yourself off. And actually, when you start your session and you get into it, you do kind of switch yourself off to that constant noise. But again, it might be a good idea that if you mention to the audience at the beginning not to use the chat until the end of the session, and actually not to use it at all, but to use the Q&A at the side of the screens. What's this? Will we have the documents beforehand, or will they be ready already at the Streams pad? I'm not sure what you mean there, but basically all of the content will already be uploaded in the stream room, so you don't have to worry about any of the presentations. That will already be uploaded in all of the rooms for you. So when you arrive, the Q&A, the holding slide with your session number will be on the screen, and then all of the content will already be uploaded, and then it will finish on the Q&A slide. It says, can you please repeat about giving a speaker permission? Yes, I can repeat it, but also please look at the crib sheets, because that gives you even more better explanation than what I can do here. But basically, for the masterclass speakers, when they come to the stage, you need to click on their avatar and tick the permissions. So you press permissions, and then you'll see that it actually gives you the option to give them presentation rights. I'm just clicking onto the crib sheet myself to remind me of what it actually says. 2 seconds. It basically says, 2 secs. Let me go up. Here we go. So it says use presentations and VIP, so you need to make sure you tick both of those. But please just make sure, have a look at the crib sheet and it will reiterate that for you. So what was that, Mark? So you've learned how you can mute, there you go, so you can mute the chat, the beeping yourselves. So perfect. So if you've found a way of muting that beeping and you want to do that, by all means go ahead and do it. And then you won't know if somebody sent a chat, but it won't be distracting for you. So that's it in terms of session and recording facilitation. But if you have a think about any questions, please practice a recording, and we're going to do this again tomorrow. What I will do tomorrow is I'll actually start off with remote configuration. So it's all going to be, at the beginning, it's going to be about how you can help somebody set up their headset tomorrow, okay, and some more general delegate help. So let me see if you've got more questions coming in. So some audience delegates may want to chat to each other during the talk, but we will be muting them all. Yes, exactly. Please mute them all, because regardless of whether they want to chat to each other, it's going to be distracting for other people. So they should, while they're in sessions, mute themselves so that basically everyone can concentrate on the content. Just like being at a normal conference, you wouldn't sit there talking to the people sat next to you because it's distracting for everybody. So yeah, we do need to ask them to do that. And I think that is about it. So, guys, I've got a rehearsal starting, unfortunately, in 4 minutes. I need to get to. So, if you all want to ask any questions to your team leaders, please do, and they can filter that through to me. Please look at the crib sheet. Please look at the run of show, and I'll be back tomorrow at the same time, and you can ask any questions, and we'll open it up to the talk. So, listen, I can't thank you all enough, guys, for all of your support. We are so excited for the live conference, for the first virtual AMY conference. You're all very privileged to be a part of it, as we are, and it's very exciting, and we're all very lucky to have you on board to help us. So thank you so much. And at any point you need any support or any answers to any of your questions, please be in touch with our team. Okay, guys, I'm going to give you a wave goodbye. Take care, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks very much. Oh, and remember, you can all get on this lectern on the stage and have a practice. We've got real live presentations up here for you to all practice, so have a go. Lovely. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thank you so much, Nicola.